Hey there, it's Chris from the tentatively titled Laurelman Project, which I haven't officially created the channel title yet for the account here, but tentatively that's what it's going to be. We'll see how that works. Anyway, if anybody knows me, I've worn a lot of hats in my time here. I've done I've competed nationally in science competitions back in high school. I do duathlons and obstacle course racing and stuff in my free time. I'm currently employed as a home remodeler slash carpenter, and I've also been an advisor for group, college student, the community service group for like just about 15 years, just about, yeah, a decade and a half. But at the same time, I also build models in my free time. So as we can see, these are some of the ones I've done. And we have Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden. We have Makoto from Ghost in the Shell, Realm from Final Fantasy VI, Rydia from Final Fantasy IV. We have a Pixie from the Persona series. We have Lamisa from whatchamacallit, La Mulana 2. We have Orn from Final Fantasy X. And most recently we have Kat from Gravity Rush, and just finished doing what's her name? Rain from the Night Witch. Actually, just last week. Still haven't even finished the base yet. Base is still gonna come. And that said, if you like what you're seeing right now and you want to see more, I have actually recorded the entire process of building the Rain model here, from the start of just this and some wire to finish. So if you like what you see, let me know. I can put those videos up as well. They're a little rough because I'd never recorded anything before, and a couple of the videos are a little rougher because of that. But by and large, yeah, it's a good time. I learned stuff from it. Maybe you guys can learn stuff from it. That's where we go. That said, I'm not going to consider myself an artist per se. Yes, I'm doing an art project right now, but I feel like I'm mentally more of a jack of all trades kind of person, where a long time ago I started kind of developing a system to deal with any number of the, let's say, pursuits that I mentioned earlier, whether it be science, whether it be being an advisor, whether it be building, whether it be sports, whether it be the art stuff. I have a system that I can kind of interject into each discipline, and I kind of go from there. So I've kind of approached these as a jack of all trades. So keep that in mind as I go on. I can give you a starting point, and then from there you can always go further on and see other people who are the true artists and whatnot go at it. But that said, before I ramble on any further than that, as I already pointed out before, all of our models here I've made out of the Super Sculpey before. It's the one I started using. I've just kind of gotten used to it. I don't know if it's the best or not the best, but it's what I've been using. We also have, on the side here, it's easier to show, we have some 16 gauge and 12 gauge wire we use as the frame for inside. I also use an 1/8 inch steel dowel as the ultimate support that runs down into here. So like Realm has a steel dowel, you have the steel dowel, you have those. Because otherwise, if I look back to one of the older ones, like my Arn, he's a little rocky when I didn't have the stronger support. So I've since started using he is still very sturdy, but I've since started using the 1/8 inch dowel as the actual support down in the leg. On top of that, I used to use the Loctite glue to hold things together. I've now found this guy. It's got the supermarket crazy glue. It's actually worked out remarkably well during the rain one. So I'm going with that right now unless it doesn't work, I'm going with it. We also use some foil wrap inside to help beef out some of the areas a little bit. And I know when I did rains, I videotaped it. I lost the tape I was using to kind of hold some things together, but I will be honest, this was the first one I just found because I had the camera recording. I need to get something on. I need to get down here and to do stuff again. So I'll be honest, this is pretty terrible for the job. It doesn't really hold what I want together. However, that actually turns into a virtue down the road, which we'll get into at a later point. But this not holding the greatest actually winds up being super helpful. Now that said, that's what I have on the one side. Use my workspace. I then have my recording software on the side. And if you ever see me go off to the right of the screen, I have another image set off here. Hey, that's Tali that I did before from Mass Effect. I'm going to have my current image set up on a full-size setup here. So when I come and I need to at least make my wireframe the correct size, I'm going to be sizing it off an image on the monitor on the side here. So if ever I go off in like these first couple episodes to the side, that's all I'm doing, is I'm just kind of lining myself up with a pre-made image. So, what are we doing? I'll be honest, the last couple models I've done, like I said, the last two, because I've just started painting them finally, I've had Cat and I've had Rain, and both are kind of your standard girl next door kind of characters. They're generally almost normal people kind of then thrown into the crazy situation they kind of find themselves in, and they're a little more kind of low-key, a little kind of spunky, they're a little more kind of down-to-earth characters. And at the same time, you can see a lot of the ones I've done have been female characters. So we're going to go a different direction this time. We're going to do a male character, and we're going to go a little larger than life. Because if I'm going to do a guy, if you've ever seen the game I Want to Be the Guy, you get to the very end of the game, you get to the Hall of the Guy, which is where he kind of highlights all like the main male characters in like any kind of discipline. They've thrown in that hall. So in my own personal one, if I were going to have that, Orin is definitely in there. Ryu is definitely in there. And this other one, I think he's going to deserve his place in it. However, rather than try to extol the virtues right now, we've been doing a lot of talking so far. So, in the words of the protagonist we're going from, this isn't the time for an action. This is the time for action. This is the time for Bang Shishigami. Now, if you're not familiar with any kind of fighting games or whatnot, they're out there. Usually you might think of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Blaze Blue is one of the other, I'm going to say larger fighting series, however you pluralize the word series. It's one of the main ones out there, and out of I think they're up to 30-some characters so far in there, there's really just the one that completely stands out, and that is Bag. And we're going to go over, I can go over into why I think he fits the bill at length later on, as we're kind of modeling and doing stuff, because there will be dead time to fill with talking. But for now, we're going to move on down the line with what we have. We're going to go stick him over on the screen. Give me 1 second here while I put my thing on the other screen, because I didn't need you to see it too early. And what we're going to do first off is we're going to have the wireframe. And for the wireframe, the nice part is I have this nice little handy dandy image on the side. Good profile shot. I don't need to draw my own drawings to get this down. I can just use that to get the shoulder width, the hip width, the heights, and all that figured out nice and easy. Again, that is now what I've stuck on the side. I can use that to gauge my stuff off of. And that said, I can either keep him the clay looking model like I have my other ones here. I can either go halfway and do that, or I can go all the way, and we're going to do the whole 9 yards and paint him up. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and say, does that look like the face of somebody who's going to go halfway? No. No, we're going to be painting this guy in the end. He's getting the whole 9 yards. Bang deserves it. So, back to here, and how much time has passed? We've had that much time passed. All right. We should probably actually do something. So, to begin with, I start with my friend, the 12-gauge wire. We're going to largely ignore everyone in the background from here on out. And if I can find the end of the 12-gauge, that would be great. So my goal this session is basically just create the wireframe. If I start getting clay or whatnot on there, I'm going to call that more the bonus. We just want to kind of create the wireframe and get this started. So I'm going to need 2 of these in the end anyway. So let's go and cut a couple of these down. This is much more than I need at the moment. I'm going to wind up cutting pieces off of that, and then whatever scrap I have actually gets used, or actually has a chance of being used in the hardening process later on, or for other pieces. So I may look like I have way extra when doing this, but not as much of it winds up being scrap in the end as you might think. So, where are my pliers? Need my pliers. Alright, so far this is going halfway decently. I've only flubbed a couple things and they haven't been major, which is good. So effectively 1 wire is going to be for the arms, 1 wire is going to be for the hips and legs. I'm going to have 1 wire go down from the head that kind of connect everything together, and then I'm going to double up one on the leg with the 8-inch steel. And this will create basically everything I'm looking for here. So let's see if we can... come on. Ugh. Having issues bending stuff this time. Usually don't. Okay, so as with rain, every now and again I forget which direction the camera is facing, so unfortunately you're just going to have to slightly get used to that. Most of the time I wind up being pretty good, but in some of these earlier parts where I'm not doing clay, I'm doing other things, this stuff happens. You know what, rather than have me disappear off screen, how about I get these guys up and I can just measure what I have off the screen here. Whoop, wrong way. And shoulders are... wow, his shoulders are massive. Okay, this is not anywhere near any of the regular kind of... actually, they'll wind up kind of about the same size, but no, you're... okay, you're an Arn level. It is Arn level. So what are we? We're about 2 inches wide. And actually, it can even be a hair wider than that. Alright, so if I'm there, I'm here. This, after doing the last couple, this already just feels like it's huge. Also, I didn't do this correctly. That looks a little more even. Alright, 1 second here. Let me put this up against my screen on the side. Whoop, come on. That's not too bad. Okay, so we got the shoulders and arms. Now we will cut the arms down to size. Again, right now, length is a virtue, not a vice. Because it's easy to cut things down, it's a little harder to add to. So... now, remember, as I was doing rains before, I kind of really sped through this opening day, and I had to fix a couple things in the second day. Not much, but definitely had to tweak some of this. We're going to see if I don't need to do that this time. That would be great. Okay, so now the leg one here, I really don't want... just as I have coming down off the shoulders, this piece comes down a little ways. I'm going to have the same going up in the hip, but I really don't want that going up too far, and I'll explain why when I do the next piece that goes in. But I kind of want this to be minimal that sticks up. Okay, so now with that, we need to get the hips. And the hips are smaller, quite a bit. All right, so what do we want? We want something like, whoop, that. That looks really kind of, is that really, I can go a hair bigger than that. Again, this doesn't have to be exact. I'm not making a skeletal structure inside of him. This is just something that has to wind up inside his legs and whatnot in the end. So there is definite playroom involved, which is really good. Also, it would be really good if I bent this the correct way. That looks way too small. Also looks way too small. According to this, that's not super far off. One is slightly bigger than the other, which is... I mean, it's technically fine if it's not. I want it to be centered. Oh, good start. Good start. I see all the things I got right with rain are now going wrong over here. I'm going to be making all sorts of new kind of mistakes. All right, 1 sec. We go off to the side. Yeah, that works. It's a hair skinnier than I think I want it to be, but it's going to work. So now we have arms, legs. We want one more. We want to have a headpiece. Now let me go real quick. I can probably cut some of the extra out of the arm to make the headpiece with. Because, yeah, we don't need all of this. Alright, I don't need that. I don't need... Oop, come on, don't need that. Okay. This is probably not big enough to do... it might just be big enough for the head. Might just be big enough for the head if I can straighten it out just a little bit. So yeah, I know I've seen a number of videos on YouTube and posted and whatnot, and probably about half of them start with the head first, half of them start with the body and go up to the head after that. I tend to start with the body first, and then the face and head tend to get done near the end. It's just the way I've come to do things. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take some of this really bad tape. And I realize I've got way too much. Let's cut some of that off. And we're going to go ahead and attach this on here. This looks like the least professional thing, but you know what? It created all these guys. In the end, they worked. So we're going with it. I've never seen anybody online ever do their models quite like this. But again, this tape being absolutely garbage for this application because it doesn't really stick to these guys, you might think is a problem, but in the end, this will be a virtue. Just hold off on judgment as of right now. It will work out in the end. It's just until I get this first layer of clay on here, yeah, it looks like Garbo. Very much so. All right, so we're gonna see how's my spacing. Oops, wrong way. From the hips to the shoulders. So my hips to shoulders is gonna be something like that. So what do we have? We have about 2 5/8 inches from hips to shoulders. And you know what? My model here is hitting the support to have my camera on top of, so I have 1, 2 5/8 means you're going to go something like that. I do believe. Get a little more of this tape. Actually, for this one, I would probably prefer to have something something better than this, but oh well. That one I want to have as a piece of garbage tape. This one would be a little nicer to actually be able to hold it really well. But again, once we start getting clay and whatnot on here, it's gonna be much nicer. Yeah, this guy looks like a Slender Man right now. How we doing? If you're there, you are a Slender Man. Okay, we need to bring you down a little. How's that? A little more. There we go. How's this? All right, I think we're just about there. Teeny bit more. I don't even know if that moved. Yes, it did. Okay. We got our guy. That is what we are going for. Okay. So right now we have this really wobbly looking dude. Doesn't look good at all, but it's what we have. So let's go and get shoulder to elbow. That's going to be next. Shoulder to elbow is going to be, yeah, something like that. I'm not even going to worry about what the pose is right now. I just want to get general sizes correct, and then we'll deal with posing after that. So we have the elbows are in there. We now need, I want to get from hip to knee. Hip to knee would be very, very good to have. That's a little more like this. Let's maybe go that way so we can bend the knee kind of correctly, at least pretend to. Okay, so we now have, we have our joints. Maybe I should get the feet in there as well. And feet are about the same, so generally speaking, the foot is going to be about the same as from here to the bottom of the foot. So let's go and get that, and this is going to be helpful. Should I go on the right side? That doesn't look right. Let me zoom you up just a little bit. In fact, that looks, looks like his chin is still a little bit small, although that's saying we're should be pretty good. How about this? If I were to straighten you out quite a bit, what is the full size of our leg here? I mean, I do have the image here. He is standing. The one I'm going off of is standing pretty dang straight up. That is actually not too bad. So, okay, we can go with that. Again, I can always change this little bits later on. That's not a problem. So, okay, we have ourselves a really bad looking wireframe. And what we're going to do with that wireframe is we're going to come back to our image and actually see if we can get this, at least a preliminary going on this. This guy has a huge arch back going on. Arm's going in, you're coming out. This arm's going up towards the camera. So we're getting something. For the sake of where this is today, that's really as far as I need to go with this. This leg would be nice. I want to double up this leg with the 1/8 inch dowel. The other one I can play with a little bit, that's fine. The upper body I'm going to be moving, because right now everything is so wobbly with the garbage tape that I have on here that... Now I'm not going to make fun of the tape. Does what it's supposed to do if you're doing packaging and whatnot. It's just not meant for this application. So I'm going to go put the rod down in here, and then we're going to take it from that point. So if that is kind of our whoop. Oh, and I said I was going to get another pair of snips last time I did this, and I haven't yet. So that's super cool. I don't necessarily need you to go all the way up the leg, but let's... Okay, this is going to go very poorly. Oh, I actually have to stand up for this one, because this is not the pair of snips you're supposed to use to cut this kind of thing. It doesn't work very well. But this is also why I use this, because it makes these guys super solid. Which I try to make these as solid as I can. Now, I know I pointed out in Rain's, the first episode of Rain's thing as well, but I'm going to point out Ryu in terms of my solidity. A long time ago, he was one of the earlier-ish ones, but he was, for whatever reason, he didn't have the base yet. He was sitting on my bed, which had the same colored sheets. And I don't know why he was on there, but it had the same colored sheets as him. I kind of accidentally sat on him, got back up, and the only thing that broke on him was his finger broke and the sword fell off. And so I do try to make these guys as solid as I can. So, hence, and even him, he was just the 12 gauge steel going into the ground. I now get even more so. Ever since a number of models now have the 1 foot on the ground, I have been going more with the 1/8 inch dowel, just to kind of keep things a little more steady. So, what we're going to do with him, the nice thing is, it looks like his foot can go straight down. I would say at the minimum, I'm using a 3/4. If you buy like the pre-made bases, these are 3/4 inch thick. I know this one, Cats, I made out of a 1x10. It was either 1x8 or 1x10 I had lying around. I actually traced the top of a paint can, and that's where the circle came from, and I just kind of routed the top real quick. So this actually took maybe half hour at the most to do. I did it during a lunch, and I got that look actually pretty good. Painted up afterwards when I got home, but no matter what I do, even the stand one here, this is 3/4 thick. So I want to have at least 3/4 going down into the ground. And I can always put a little more. I can always bring a Dremel or something later on to Dremel off more if I'm too thick. But we're going to start with that in mind. And this is why this is the only leg that matters, because this one is going to be doubled up. So if I can get this leg to be correct, which if I'm here, that's not too bad. I can still bend it. It's not like, it's not set in stone at this point in time. It is still workable. But I should have brought 2 tapes, one for the one I want to be weak and one for the actual stuff, but I'll be honest, whenever I start a new project or start something fresh, my mind is like in a million places at once, so sometimes we forget some things, and it just happens. So we can see this foot is going down further, that's going down further than it needs to, but that's okay. Not a problem. All right, this will be good. We might actually get some clay thrown on here today, and that would be fantastic. All right, so we have a solid base. I don't need to worry about the second one. As long as one of them is in, I can just use this one as a support to keep him from rocking back and forth. This one will keep him together. And now we're gonna beef him up a little bit before adding some clay. So this is where we have some, if I had good fingernails. Hey, there we go. That works super well. You know, let's get some things out of here I don't need anymore. We don't need the wire up here anymore. That's gone. Okay, so that was, whoop, let's not lose the camera. Now, back when I was using duct tape on these things, and before actually it was silver tape, because it's what I have from work when you're doing duct work, because apparently duct tape is no longer up to spec for doing duct work. Just as a FYI. So we don't use duct tape for actual construction in anything for home remodeling. It is a useless tool because it's not legal for ducts. So when I was using silver tape, that stuff worked really well. And I would tend to just I would then tape over all this. But I think for this purpose, I'm probably just going to put clay right over this. I don't think taping this down actually really serves a great purpose. Maybe not. We'll see. I was about to say there's probably spins on the legs without the tape. But at the same time, I put tape on, it's still going to spin just as much. So I don't think that's going to change. Yeah, we're going to have the big floppy feet and all that kind of going on right now. That's fine. For today's purpose, that's fine. We will deal with that at a later point. Yeah, these first couple of sessions are going to be really kind of quick, down and dirty. Nothing has to be perfect. It's kind of really quickly going through these things, because we don't really start detailing things out for some time. That said, my order of operations is actually going to be changing quite a bit on this one, if only because if we look at every model I have here, you can probably see I've never really had to deal with, say, anything in the midriff kind of area here. I've never had to do at least, I guess on Rydia, I kind of have an exposed chest going as kind of the top, but basically everyone else is hidden. So I mean, this is the first time I have to deal with abs. I really have to show the back muscles, the side muscles, kind of down to the chest. I really need that whole mid area. I've kind of faked it before because I knew it was going to be covered with clothing and whatnot. So one of the reasons I want to do a model like this is because I would like to learn that kind of set, or kind of force myself to learn a little more on the anatomy side. But that said, usually when I do a model, I'll quickly base up everything at once. I'll have like the chest kind of there, the arms maybe just kind of started, I'll have the legs there. And then I'll finish detailing out the legs. I'll do my first hardening, because then after that point I can hold the legs and manipulate to then do the upper body and go up and finish. But this time I kind of need to do the midsection first, and then after we're done, after I finish that, harden that, and then work down to the legs, out to the arms, up to the head, to the others. So this one's going to be slightly different than I'm used to doing. But in the end, I think it's still going to work out. I know if I'm doing something on camera like this, I probably should be doing a little more kind of bread and butter kind of stuff, just because, hey, if I want to impress all of y'all, it'd be nice to do something I know I can handle, I know I've done like a million times before, and it just kind of adds that feel-good notion. But at the same time, I got going to learn some things. And we're going to be learning things together. We are definitely going to be learning things together as we go on this. So don't assume I have all the answers, because again, I don't consider myself an artist. I consider myself more jack of all trades. So I'm approaching this with a system to kind of figure out how to get it done, but I don't have the experience necessarily in certain aspects to get it done super nicely. Let's see, we need to twist that foot out. So what do we have? We have, so if that's going out, this leg has to come down. You're out, that foot goes out. I feel like I'm gonna want you to, oh geez, that does not bend nicely. What if I roll you? Yeah, I like the roll. Actually, I can just start that. Have the back is kind of rolling up. That arm is doing that. And we're going out that way. Maybe not that high. We can start with something like that. And what time do we have right now? We still have a couple minutes. So I'm glad I finished Rain when I did there, because when I did, I only had this much clay to go in the end, out of a block that was yay big. And yeah, the new clay I had ordered didn't come in or didn't arrive until I was in the painting phase of her. So I'm just putting this thing kind of away. I don't need it opened all the way. Okay, so let's get going. Now, usually I have a pasta roller I use for kind of tenderizing the clay and getting it prepped and ready. However, I have all of these guys taking up my workspace right now, so they're great for this first session, but they need to go. Next session, they're going to be gone so that I can actually do what I need to do. I like seeing them there. They're fun, but they're not going to be helping things. Alright, a little bit of crazy glue. I have no idea how much is left in here, so I just go ahead and smoosh some of that on. And really, if I can get everything a layer glued down kind of everywhere, that would be fantastic right now. If only because the glue inevitably gets on my fingers. And if I'm going to get on my fingers, I might as well just do it all at once. Then I can wipe it off again, or wipe it all off afterwards, and we'll be fine. And next session, I can just start off nice, clean hands, ready to go. So we're just going to try, kind of down and dirty, get some of this stuff on here. Whatever you can go that way is fine. Yeah, right now, this can be as rough as it wants to. It doesn't matter. I gave my intro spiel. I got most of the things I wanted to say out of the way. And now we're just adding stuff to the pile here. Actually, we're not even adding to the pile. We're starting the pile. Forget adding to the pile. We aren't adding anything to it. We are beginning a pile. this will make life possible later on. That said, I know I've seen a number of kind of streamers, videographers, whatever, artists, modelers online who will they'll start in one section, like they'll make the entire face, then they'll do the whole chest, they'll do the whole kind of midsection, then they'll do the legs and go down like one section at a time. I tend to feel better just kind of building everything out at once, kind of a little bit at a time. So I'll kind of start maybe bulking out the chest, and I kind of start bulking out the legs, start kind of the arms, and kind of then bulk out a little more. And so it grows kind of in proportion to each other. And that just kind of seems to be how I have found to work out best when doing these. But really, there are any number of ways to go about doing this. But this is just the way that's worked for me. It's the way I visualize things better. And we're just kind of going with it this way. So let's get a little on the leg. All right. I can already feel this stuff hardening on my thumb and other fingers, so that's great. Okay, I really am liking this glue. Because I feel like when I use the Loctite one, I get like halfway through the bottle, and then it would kind of clog itself up. And this bottle feels like it's like 5 times smaller than the Loctite one. But between the last model and this one, I'm getting so much more out of it than I was before. It's great. So right now, super happy with it. Super, super happy. Okay, that's the left leg. Let's get the right leg started. Get a little bit of the shoulders. It's only been, unless I'm looking at the time wrong, it's only been about 40 minutes. So I feel like I did a lot of talking up front without showing stuff. And now all of a sudden, bim bam boom, we are in there. So to me, this feels like a win. Now I do want to make sure I get plenty of glue on here, because one of my favorite sayings, one of my favorite quotes I have in my mental quote book is, the only thing worse than learning from your mistakes is not learning from your mistakes. And if I'm looking at like the first couple models I did, I never glued anything. And there were some major problems that occurred with that, and trying to prevent air pockets and get things to stick down and feel solid. It eventually worked out in the end, but it was characters like Lamisa, who was my very first one there, trying to get her legs and stuff to stick and to hold themselves correctly without the glue it was a trial. That was definitely kind of a trial. That one made for a very frustrating night that I'd rather not repeat. So we glue the heck out of everything I do now. Every now and again, it still doesn't stick. And if that happens, you just cut it out and re-glue it. So if things go wrong during any of these models, the nice thing is you can always just, if something doesn't look right, you can always add more clay, you can always subtract clay, you can cut things out, you can redo it. The clay modeling is very user-friendly that way. If you start getting into more kind of, say, carving rather than sculpting, yes, there are ways to fix a carving, but generally speaking, you make a mistake, you're done. At least clay is forgiving. Okay, we're still going to keep going down the legs here, only I don't need to go super far on this because I'm not going to be finalizing these legs. I will be basing them out, aka kind of packing them out to a rough form, but I'm not going to be finishing them off anytime soon. That is going to happen later on, after the first hardening. Because again, we're doing this slightly differently than I'm used to doing. At least my anticipation is to do this slightly different than I'm used to. But that's okay. Sometimes it is worth trying something new. And that's just what we're going to do. It also would be nice to get myself a base. I kind of pop this in, have them stand up and kind of go. But that's not really a priority at this point. So I'm just not going to worry about that at this time. We can deal with that later. You kind of want that to stay as close to those two wires to be as close to each other as they can. Because otherwise, he does have decently sized calves, but they're not huge calves. And I think I can get away with... It would be very helpful for him. Am I getting any glue out of this anymore? Am I finally done? Well, I might be done. I did get some out on here. But I believe that one, after extolling the virtue of, oh, it's lasting 5 times as long, of course I speak and instantly regret it. Because that's how things work. And like I said, if this doesn't stick correctly, I can cut it, and I can always put more glue, because I have, in addition to this guy, I do have a second 2-pack I can go from. And I believe in the end, all of them were still, getting a 2-pack of this was still wound up being cheaper than getting the Loctite, so score. Go me. I can do something. It's just... Oh, we are not going to be doing much clay modeling. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit there. I'm going to break out one of the other glues, glue the other part, because I have so much glue on my fingers right now, I can't feel them. There's very little of it that I can feel, so yeah. Let's save the actual modeling part for the next session. Let's get all of this gluing stuff that I can. I will save the feet for later. I'll say I'm not going that much, not really going to go too far down. The arms. Where did I put the other container? Because I don't want to mix the two up. It wound up somewhere. Okay, cool. All right, we have clay. Let's keep kneading the clay. All right, now in terms of why I'm kind of coming out and recording these sessions, why I want to do these, what I can offer anybody in terms of knowledge or whatnot that I might have, I think I'm going to save that discussion for either next time or possibly some other time, because it's going to be a longer discussion than I'm going to go into for the next... It's not going to be finished within like the next 10 minutes, so I'm just going to leave that discussion for a different time, and for right now we're just going to finish what I'm working on here, and then that's just going to be that. Get a layer on everywhere. But maybe if I have, I'm going to aim for like hour-long sessions. That's my goal. I might be a few minutes before, I might be a few minutes after, but I'm generally going to be aiming for hour-long sessions. And my hope, when all is said and done here, is I'd like to have 5 sessions per week. I think for recording purposes, I'd probably have 3 of them done on the weekends, like a 2-hour day Saturday or Sunday and a 1-hour day the other day. And then probably 2 days after work, I'd come by and I'd get a little further there. So I think my goal right now is to have 5 roughly hour-long sessions per week. And that way we can make pretty decent progress in that time towards finishing in a reasonable amount of time without risk of burnout. Because while I'm doing this, I will point out I'm also training for an ultra marathon distance obstacle course race that's going to take place on a ski slope in about 4 months. So I'm doing if you're familiar with Spartan races, I'm doing the Killington Ultra. It's one of those kind of bucket lists, kind of like an OCR obstacle course race, bucket list kind of race where if you've ever done one before, that is the one you go to. It's the hardest one in the country. I think it's the hardest Spartan race in the world of their mainline events. They do have like the death races and all that, which frankly don't appeal to me at all. But in terms of their mainline races, this is the hardest one. It's going to be 31 miles, roughly like 60 or 70 obstacles, and it's probably going to be about 16,000 feet of climbing. So while I'm doing these models here for you guys, I'm also going to be training for that. So I have done 3 other ultras before. This isn't my first time doing it, but this is the hard one. So right now training and stuff is really easy. Last month I spent time just kind of getting myself into a fitness routine again. It had been a while. This month I'm just kind of packing out the distance. And then as we start getting to summer, we start getting into more kind of intensive stuff. But right now, I'm still in the kind of the easier mode. But I know going down the line, especially going down the line, yes, I could do a lot more modeling and whatnot during the week. But to prevent burnout, that's what I'm kind of going for. Plus, if you're interested in watching the whole process through, I need to give you some time to view it yourself as well. So yes, I had mentioned prior that I do have the entirety of the Rain project completed from this stage through to completion entirely on camera. All building, all painting, all everything. And if you want to see it, I will put it up there, but I might do it maybe after this model is done, like during the final month or 2 of prepping for the Ultra when things are getting harder and I'm going to have less time to model. Or I could do it, say, concurrently with this one, if anybody wants to watch multiple things being done, but that's going to be a lot of time on your part if you want to watch everything to kind of go through. And I think the reason I hadn't actually uploaded her video yet, or any of those, was I had gotten a decent chunk of the way through. I'd never videotaped anything before. I really wasn't sure of the whole process or whatnot, so it kind of took me a little bit of time to kind of get in the groove and feel comfortable. And by then I realized if I'm doing this, it's more fun being a more kind of communal event or communal activity. So if anybody has any questions they want to ask, or if they have any comments they want to make, it would be nice kind of doing this more. It's not going to be 100% live, because again, the stuff I'm recording right now might not go up until next week. But still, I will be able to have a back and forth with anybody to the extent that I can with getting these things done. Now, I am not a perfect modeler. I will make mistakes throughout this process. I will fix them. I will realize mistakes will be made. As long as you realize mistakes will be made, this won't be a perfect. There are people who will go and spend they post their videos and say, I spent 100 hours, 200 hours, 300 hours making this model. And I mean, the ones they do look absolutely amazing when they do that. But I'm only going to do a fraction of that time. I'm anticipating something in the maybe 30-ish hour range on the modeling side, and maybe about 10 or so hours on the painting side, give or take. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less on each. So that's kind of my expectation for these. And that was coming from a train of thought, and I've already forgot what it was. But Okay, I think we're not in a bad place to stop. Where are we? We're getting close to the hour. We're not 100% there. We're getting close. But now, if you do want to see the rain one, like I said, it was a fun project. I think the first like episode or two were a little rougher. I did eventually get in the groove, and things started working out. But it was it's a fun one. I will put it up at some point. If you have a desire to see it, let me know, and I can post it sooner rather than later. But otherwise, I might save that in my back pocket in case training picks up, or if I find I just need to step away from modeling for a little bit. I have another one in my back. I have one in my back pocket I can use to kind of throw up there in the meantime. Because even with my training, I tend to be very seasonal in what I do. In that there are a number of people who go and they will run every single day of the year. Do 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 do. I tend to be very seasonal. I'll go all out for like 4 or 5 months, then take a few months off, then go out like 4 or 5 months, take a few months off. And my modeling tends to kind of go the same way as well. So it may not be a bad thing to have an extra one in my back pocket during times that I might not necessarily be modeling. So we'll see. I'll let you know, or you can let me know what you think in that regard. Otherwise, here we go. We have our start to our main protagonist here, Bang Shishigami. This is going to be, it is going to be fun. This is going to be a project. I'm definitely going to be learning some stuff from this one. It's like I said, that I haven't done a male character in quite a while, and I definitely haven't done any kind of in this mid-area anatomy stuff ever. So we're going to be learning some things as we go. And I think that's what's going to make it exciting. So maybe you'll learn stuff from me too. Maybe I can learn stuff from you, depending what your experience is watching. But in the end, I'm just hoping to have a good time. This is an extracurricular activity for me. I do this just to have a good time. And if I can spread that good time with you as well, then that's good. I hit my goal. So before I ramble anymore, this has been Chris and part 1 of the Bang Project. Enjoy.